Although announced many months back, it seems the EES has caught many travelers by surprise. Welcome to the video with the 30 most commonly asked questions about the new requirement you may have to go through next time you visit Europe. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello and welcome to the channel made by two humans who live in Spain and where we try to make your trip to the Iberian Peninsula easier with the help of our videos and of our self-guided walking tours. And if you would like our help in the commentary box below, remember channel members get priority reply to their questions. Click on the join button below to find out more. And let's get started with the questions. Okay, let's clear up the confusion first. We're getting some comments asking if this is actually happening. I thought this was a rumor. Is the EES actually live now? And yes, it is very real. The entry-exit system, or EES for short, is the new digital border check that replaces passport stamping. After years of kicking the can down the road, the European Union finally launched the system on October 2025. If you traveled here for Christmas, you probably saw the new machines. But it's a bit of a soft launch. Authorities were smart enough to realize that turning it on 100% everywhere on day one would crash the airports. So they are using a gradual implementation period of 6 months. This means right now they might not capture biometrics for every single passenger on every single flight. They are ramping up the numbers week by week to test the system. So if you arrived last week and didn't get scanned, don't think the system is broken, you just got lucky during the phase-in. And heads up, the planned date for full implementation of EES at all border crossings is 10th April 2026, which is basically around the corner. In plain English, what exactly is the EES? Think of it as the digital version of that guy sitting in the glass booth stamping your passport. EES stands for Entry-Exit System. Instead of ink paper, it creates a digital record of your entry and exit using your passport plus biometrics. So, what happens in real life when you arrive? In many airports, you'll get off the plane and follow the signs toward passport control as usual. Before you reach the police booths, you'll often see a row of EES machines. That's your first stop. The instructions on the machine will be shown in Spanish or Portuguese, as well as in English and many other languages. At the machine, you typically first place your passport on the reader. The machine will scan it, then look at the camera for a facial image, add fingerprints, usually 4 if it's your first time registering, and confirm a few basic details on screen, which will change depending on the airport setup. Once that's done, you move on to the manual immigration booth where an officer checks your passport like before, except now your EES record is already in the system. The officer may ask the usual questions: purpose of visit, length of stay, accommodation, money, but the idea is that the biometric heavy lifting has already been captured at the kiosk. When exactly will I go through this new EES check? This is important. You only face the EES when you cross the external border of the Schengen area. Spain and Portugal, the two countries we cover on this channel, are both part of the Schengen Agreement, along with 27 other European countries. If, for instance, you are landing at Madrid airport coming from London, you will disembark your plane and head to the exit. Before you reach the immigration booths, you will see the EES machines. They are clearly identified, where you will stop and register your biometric data, as we explained earlier. Remember, you will do this check when you arrive from outside the European Union, like flying from New York to Madrid, and when you finally leave, like flying from Lisbon back to London. But once you are inside the zone, you are free. If you take a train from Barcelona to Paris or a plane from Lisbon to Seville, there is no EES check. It's just like it was before. Will I go through EES on the way out or just on the way in? You will definitely go through EES on both ways, in and out. Your exit from the EU needs to be registered in the system, so the count of days you have stayed in the Schengen area is accurate. However, leaving is a much simpler affair. The immigration officer checking your passport and boarding pass will simply validate your exit in the system. The heavy work, scanning all those fingerprints and taking the photos, was already done when you arrived, so the exit check is much faster. Will there be help at hand? If fiddling with machines is not something you are passionate about, there is no need to worry. Airports have civilian staff ready to help passengers with their EES registration. The number of staff is greater right now at this early stage, specifically to help while EES is being introduced. But from our experience constantly crossing the borders, we expect some staff will remain for years to come to help those needing a hand, so you won't be left alone to figure it out. Does EES replace the manual border control? It definitely does not. In fact, it just adds an extra layer to it. You will go through the EES machines first, usually located right before the immigration booths, to get your biometrics done. Then, once your data has been collected and the machine gives you the green light, you will still go through the standard immigration control with a police officer, just like in the past. So you are not bypassing the officer, you are just arriving at their desk with your digital profile already built. Does EES replace your physical passport? No. Please don't leave your passport at home. You will still need your physical passport. The EES just validates it and links it to your biometric data in a central database. Who does EES apply to? EES is mainly for non-European third country travelers. If you're a citizen of a European Union country or of a Schengen country like Switzerland, Norway, Iceland or Liechtenstein, EES is not for you. But if you're from the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Asia, Latin America, this is for you. It applies whether you need a visa or not for any short stay up to 90 days. Is ETIAS the same thing? So you heard about ETIAS too and are wondering whether it's the same thing. Great question and super common confusion. No, EES is the border check system, the machines, cameras, scanners. ETIAS is the travel authorization, kind of like the American ESTA or the British ETA, which is a form you fill out online before traveling. That ETIAS is coming later this year, in late 2026, although it might be postponed for the umpteenth time. But for now, let's focus on EES. Is EES free? Absolutely it is. Think of EES as just a modern version of a passport stamp. And you never paid for that ink, did you? The EES process at the airport is completely free. Do not confuse this with ETIAS, we've just seen it. ETIAS will have a small fee when it launches later, but EES zero cost. If anyone asks you for money to register for EES online, run away, it's a scam. Does this mean I need to apply for something before I travel? For EES? No. You don't do this from your sofa in Chicago or Sydney. You do this at the airport here in Europe when you land. Has chaos taken over? Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I know some prophets of the apocalypse here on YouTube scared the hell out of everyone, anticipating the end of the world when EES was introduced. It is a pity YouTube gives more visibility to that type of content creator than to people like us who seek a more informed and balanced type of content. But hey, the fact is that we're still here. The introduction of EES actually ran quite smoothly in quite a few points of entry, mainly major airports. But it would be foolish to deny the problems. They fell short of the apocalypse, but they have definitely hindered the trips of many travelers. You may have seen the news about 3 or more hour queues. Was it that bad at some airports? I wish I could tell you it's fake news, but unfortunately, yes. Since the launch in October, airports like Malaga in Spain and Lisbon in Portugal have struggled. We've seen reports of wait times jumping by 30 to 70% in some terminals. Things were so bad in Portugal that the government suspended EES at Lisbon Airport for 3 months while new staff were recruited and new machines installed. We'll see what happens in April when the system returns. And why is it taking so long? Well, it's the first time problem. The very first time you enter Europe under this new system, you have to register everything and do so on a machine you are not familiar with. That means scanning your passport, taking a photo, recording your 4 fingerprints, answering some questions. That takes time, a few minutes per person. Now, multiply that by 300 people on a large Airbus and you get queues, and with several planes arriving at the same time, even longer lines. But here's the silver lining. On your subsequent visits, it will be much faster. The moment you place your passport on the machine, the system will recognize that you are already in the database. It will see you've already submitted your fingerprints and face scan, so it skips that heavy data collection part. You just do a quick facial verification and move on. Is there an app I can download to skip the line? Well, we were promised one, Travel to Europe, but right now, not really. A fully functional pre-registration app has been pretty much missing in action during this rollout. Right now, Travel to Europe will only help if you travel to Sweden. You generally have to do the registration at the machines at the airports. We hope we'll see changes in the coming months. What happens if the system crashes while I'm in line? This has happened when the scanners go down, border guards have to switch to manual checks or pause the line, which causes those massive bottlenecks you see on social media. We're halfway through the list of questions, so let's take a quick coffee break here. If you found this video helpful, you can support the channel in 2 different ways. Invite us for a coffee as a thank you, or hit the join button to become a member. Either way helps us keep making these videos. And now let's go back to the remaining 15 questions. I am flying next week. Will I miss my connecting flight? If you have a tight connection under 90 minutes entering the Schengen area, be careful. Our advice, plan for delays. Arrive earlier than you usually would if you are flying out, and leave generous buffer time if you are flying in. And here's our personal take. Madrid and Lisbon are two critical airports where we would never risk a short connecting time. And that was before EES. With EES in the mix, it's even more important to build a buffer. And we'll get back to that at the end of the video. We know some of you are uncomfortable with the biometrics part. Let's break that down. What exactly do they scan? Are they taking my DNA? No. No DNA, no blood samples. It is strictly a facial scan and 4 fingerprints. Do I have to do the fingerprinting every single time I visit? Good news? No. We mentioned it earlier in the video. The first time is the heavy registration. For the next 3 years, your subsequent visits should be quicker. Mostly just verifying your face against the file they already have. How long do they keep my data? Generally 3 years. If you visit again within that time, the clock resets, the 3-year count starts all over again. What if I refuse to give my biometrics? We've been asked a few times this question, and the blunt answer is you can certainly refuse to give your biometrics, but you will be denied entry. It is mandatory for crossing the external border. I have a residency card for Spain or Portugal. Do I still have to do this? If you're a resident, you have that TIE card here in Spain, for example, you are generally exempt from EES checks. But you must show your residency card clearly to the officers so they don't send you back to the EES machines. What about kids? Do babies need their fingerprints scanned? Children under 12 are usually exempt from the fingerprinting part, but they still need their passport scanned and a facial image taken. I am driving into Europe, like Dover to Calais. Does this apply to cars? Yes, it applies at all external borders, airports, ports, and land borders. The queues at Dover were actually a major worry before the launch, so pack extra snacks if you are driving. Does EES track if I overstay my 90 days? Well, yes it does, and this is crucial. The system automatically calculates your time in the Schengen area. There is no more human error or hiding an extra day. If you overstay, the computer flags it immediately. I have dual citizenship, for example, US and Italy. Which passport should I use? If you have a European Union passport, use it. EU citizens are exempt from the EES completely. If you use your American or British passport when you have a European Union passport, you are voluntarily standing in the slow line to get your fingerprints scanned. By using your European passport, you get to use those speedy electronic passport gates, the e-gates that you are used to. You just scan your passport, the gate opens, and you walk right through, skipping the whole EES registration entirely. I have a European Union passport, but my travel companion doesn't. Can they skip EES and come along with me? This is probably our most commonly asked question, and the answer is they certainly cannot. All non-European foreigners, with the only exception of the legal residents we mentioned earlier, have to go through the EES process. There is no +1 rule here. On top of that, if your companion doesn't have a European Union passport and they try to follow you through the speedy e-gates, failure is warranted. The gate simply won't open for them. If you want to stay with your partner, you have two choices. Split up and meet at the baggage claim, or after they finish their EES registration at the machine, you can stand next to them, you can join them in the queue for non-European nationals at the manual immigration control. What if the machine cannot read my fingerprints? This is a very common worry, especially for older travelers or for people who have worn fingerprints due to manual work. If for whatever reason, age, illness, or just bad luck, your fingerprints don't get along with the readers, please don't panic. You will not be sent home. Just let the attendant in the hall know you're having trouble. You will likely be escorted directly to a manual immigration control booth where a border officer can collect your data personally or process you with just a facial scan if the fingerprints truly are impossible to read. I don't have a biometric passport. Am I in trouble? Well, having a biometric passport is a good idea. No, you are not in trouble. The European Union currently doesn't strictly require a biometric passport from its visitors for this system. If you don't have one, you simply will not use the machines. Instead, you will go through manual checks where an officer will collect your data when you arrive in Europe. So it might be a bit slower, but you will not be turned away. How about cruises? Do I need to register if I'm just stopping for the day? This is a huge question for our cruisers. The rules here are actually quite specific. If your cruise starts and ends outside the Schengen area, for example, a round trip from Southampton in the UK, you are generally exempt from EES checks, even if you hop off for a day trip in Lisbon or Vigo. You get a pass because you are sleeping on the ship, technically outside the zone. However, if you fly into Barcelona from the States to start your cruise, or if having embarked in Southampton, you disembark the ship in Lisbon to catch a flight back home to America, then you enter the system. You will need to complete the EES checks just like any other traveler entering or leaving the European Union territory. Do you have any specific advice for travelers? Absolutely. At this initial stage, the brunt of EES delays will be felt specifically by those taking connecting flights on arrival to Europe. So, our advice is plan your connecting flights carefully. In our video on connecting flights at Madrid Airport, we used to advise connecting times of no less than 2 hours. Now we say make it a bit longer on account of EES. Better safe than sorry is always our motto when it comes to connections. You don't want to start your holiday sprinting through Terminal 4. And we hope that clears up the panic a little bit. EES can be a hassle, yes, but being prepared is half the battle. If you've traveled recently and faced the EES, let us know in the comments, was it a breeze or a nightmare? On the screen you will see now our list of videos with basic advice for an unforgettable trip to Spain. Make sure you check them out. Hasta la próxima!